Me. But you almost died earlier. Dahlia pounded on his chest again. I had no choice. You were the one who told me to jump. Dustin put on an innocent expression. You jumped just because I told you so? Why don't you eat shit too if I ask you? Dahlia's tone was upset. That's too much, Dustin replied awkwardly. Eating shit is too much, but jumping down a building is not. What exactly were you thinking? Dahlia jabbed a finger against Dustin's forehead. I was too impulsive earlier. I promise there won't be another time, Dustin admitted to his faults. He had witnessed the entire scene earlier, where Dahlia cried inconsolably upon realizing he had jumped off the building. She was even willing to follow him into the afterlife. He wasn't only surprised, he was also delighted. This was the first time he understood how important he meant to her. Me. It's your life. I don't care, so do whatever you want. Dahlia wiped her tears away before her expression hardened. One more thing. Although I believe that you have nothing to do with my brother's death for now, that doesn't mean this situation is over. I'm going to find the murderer and avenge James. Leave it to me. I'll find the murderer. I've sent someone to investigate. I believe there will be news soon. Dustin was serious. He wouldn't let the person who dared frame him off that easily. Whoever it was, he was going to make sure they paid the price. Hey, what are you two doing? Suddenly, they heard someone cry out by the door. It was Florence, Victoria, and Julie, walking in angrily. You son of a bitch. How dare you show up here when you killed my son? Florence erupted in anger when she saw Dustin. Her expression was menacing. I told you. I have nothing to do with James' death. Dustin shook his head. The evidence is as clear as day, and yet you're still denying it. Florence's tone was dripping with resentment as she said, no matter what you say, I'm going to send you to prison. She was about to make a move when Dahlia suddenly stood in front of her. Hold on. Mom, this is a misunderstanding. Dustin is not the murderer. What? Florence was stunned. She looked at Dahlia in disbelief. Dahlia, have you gone crazy? How can you defend this bastard? Mom, I feel sad about James' death too, but we can't let hatred cloud our judgment. Dahlia picked up the report from the table and showed it to them. This is James' autopsy report. It shows that he died from poisoning. Dustin didn't kill him. It's all a big misunderstanding. Nonsense. I won't believe any autopsy report. I will only believe what I saw with my own eyes, and I saw Dustin kill him. Florence gritted her teeth. That's right. It's just a piece of paper. Dustin might have fabricated the results to clear his name. Julie chimed in. Dahlia, you need to stay resolute. Don't be deceived by his sweet words. Victoria warned her. It's real, take a closer look. There's an official stamp and a doctor's signature. We can get it verified anytime. Dahlia tried to persuade the three of them. Verified, my ass. Florence snatched the autopsy report and ripped it to shreds. I don't care where he got this damned thing. I won't believe it. I'm going to bring him to justice today. Mom, if you don't believe him, you should at least believe in me, right? I can assure you that he isn't the murderer. Dahlia was serious. Dustin's actions earlier had already proven his innocence. Moreover, if he were truly the killer, why would he go to such great lengths to obtain evidence? He could have simply escaped without a trace. Dahlia, did this bastard feed you a love potion? How can you believe him? Florence was both furious and shocked. She couldn't believe her daughter had turned into such a shameful woman. She was ignoring her brother's death for the sake of a wretched man. She was even defending the killer. It was foolish behavior. I believe him because there are indeed questionable circumstances surrounding James' death. I don't wish to unjustly accuse a good man, Dahlia explained. A good man, my fucking ass. You can tell he's a wretched person just by how obnoxious and cunning he is. I must hand him over to the authorities today. Florence was unyielding, shouting, and ready to act. Mom, can you calm down? Dahlia stood in front of her mom, trying to stop her. Florence was enraged and tried to push her daughter aside. Get out of my way. The result was the same, as Dahlia stood her ground. In the end, the two started pushing each other. Mom, listen to me. This situation before Dahlia could continue, an enraged Florence delivered a heavy slap across her face. Dahlia, what the hell are you doing? James had just passed away, and here you are defending the murderer? Don't you have a conscience? James is your brother. What kind of a sister are you? Florence fumed with rage as she screamed. Throughout her life, she had never laid a hand on her daughter until today. Florence, you can scold her and be mad all you want, but it's a little inappropriate to hit your child. Realizing that the situation was getting out of hand, Victoria tried to calm the situation. Dahlia, you're in the wrong too. How can you fight your mother for the sake of an outsider? That's right, Dahlia. Stop being stubborn and step aside. Julie reasoned as well. Dahlia kept her composure even as her cheek burned calmly. She told her mother, Mom, can you believe me this once? Give Dustin a chance to prove his innocence, I'm begging you. You dash. Florence was frustrated at Dahlia's behavior and was about to strike her again, but ultimately, she was unable to bring herself to do it. She knew her daughter's personality well. It was hard to change her mind once she had made a decision. Dustin finally spoke up. Give me 5 days. I'll definitely catch the murderer within 5 days. Otherwise, you can do whatever you want with me. His words were resolute. Fine, I'll give you a chance. Let's see what tricks you can come up with. Florence suppressed her anger and turned to Dahlia before saying, As for you, you're going to regret going against us for that bastard someday. And with that, Florence left, irritated. Rhys, you have 5 days. I'll be sending someone to tail you. After a final threat, Julie and her mother followed Florence out the door. I'm sorry for putting you through that. Noticing her slightly swollen cheek, Dustin felt a pang of guilt Florence hadn't held back earlier. It's nothing. Dahlia shook her head slightly. Your main priority now is to find the murderer. Otherwise, my mom will never let you off the hook. I understand, I'll take care of it right away. Dustin nodded and left soon after. The only reason he was searching for the murderer was to clear his name. However, he was now driven by a personal grudge, and it was poised to be deadly. Dustin's phone suddenly rang on his way back to the Flame Dragon dojo. Abigail's voice came through on the other side of the line when he answered. Her tone was anxious as soon as she spoke. Sir, things are not good. There's some trouble at home. What kind of trouble? Dustin's forehead creased slightly with worry. I'm not sure of the exact situation, but there are a lot of people outside our house and 2 excavators. It seems like they are going to forcibly demolish our house. Forced demolition? That's going overboard. Dustin's expression darkened. Try to hold them back, I'll be there immediately. It's no use, they're starting dash. While Abigail was speaking, she seemed to notice something and cried out, You bastards, how dare you lay a hand on my father? I'm not going to let you off. Abigail, don't be rash. Dustin tried to warn her, but she had already hung up. As they were clearly in danger, Dustin didn't hesitate when he turned the car around and sped toward Central Village in a rush. 20 minutes later, at the entrance of a 2-story home in Central Village, Abigail held a baseball bat with both hands, keeping guard at the front. She was sweating profusely and panting, her complexion was pale. It was obvious that she was out of energy. However, at her feet were the bodies of more than 10 men. They were the gangsters she had beaten to the ground for trying to demolish her home. Every one of them at least had 1 broken bone as they laid on the ground, groaning in pain. The rest of the gangsters were stunned and afraid to approach. Damn it, why is this kid so fierce? She's a female tiger. The gangsters grumbled under their breaths. Although they looked menacing, their gaze showed a hint of fear. They had gotten used to acting haughty and arrogant. Owing to their numbers, everything they did usually went smoothly and effortlessly. They didn't expect to run into a headstrong individual today.